Show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now! It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
you are not allowed to invade foreign countries and kidnap the president. It doesn't matter how awful he is. It doesn't matter whether or not he tortures kittens.
left-wing meltdown over Venezuela.
This is the behaviour of a cowboy state, not the behaviour of a member of the UN Security Council. So,
should we just check in with how the Venezuelans actually feel about it? Wow. How's Mr. International Law handling it?
International law is the framework, is the anchor or the benchmark. It is, of course, for the US to justify the action that it has taken.
That weak man hasn't got a view. In other news, the first load of illegal migrants of 2026 have arrived. Big news, though, we might confiscate their phones. That'll do the trick. Also... Lovely bunch of lads. West Midlands police fabricated evidence to pander to the Muslim community and ban an Israeli team from the UK. And get a load of this.
We need to shoot down this idea that slogans, easy answers, quick fixes, shortcuts are what fix the country.
Starmer says that we can't deal in slogans. Really, Prime Minister?
We have a clear plan for change. Plan for change. My plan for change. This is at the heart of our plan for change.
On my panel tonight, we have got the Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, journalist Benjamin Butterworth, and the former Tory party chairman, now Reform UK member, Sir Jake Berry, and find out why this guy...
become friends with school shooters.
...was taken down by Somali pirates. So get ready, Britain, here we go. The lefty lovies have had a meltdown again. Next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. More from Patrick in a short moment. First, though, the headlines. Venezuela's toppled President Nicolas Maduro has pleaded not guilty in a New York court today to charges including drug trafficking and narco-terrorism, insisting, he says, "I am still president." US prosecutors accuse him of overseeing a cocaine smuggling network linked to violent cartels across Latin America, allegations he has repeatedly denied. Maduro and his wife were seized from their compound in Caracas over the weekend and flown to the United States in a dramatic special forces operation ordered by Donald Trump. Well, the unprecedented move has sparked international backlash, with the United Nations Security Council debating the legality of the operation amid fears of wider regional instability. In Westminster, meanwhile, the Foreign Secretary told MPs today she raised concerns about international law with her US counterpart, but stopped short of saying whether the raid breached it. Yvette Cooper said the UK would shed no tears over the end of Maduro's rule, accusing him of clinging to power through fear, coercion and violence.
And in my discussions with Secretary Rubio, I raised the importance of complying with international law, and we will continue to urge all partners to do so at every stage. It is, of course, for the US to set out the legal basis for their actions, and the UN Security Council is discussing Venezuela this afternoon. These issues will continue to be matters for international discussion.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has said he stands with Denmark after Donald Trump suggested the United States should annex Greenland. Sir Keir Starmer said Denmark's Prime Minister Frederiksen was right to reject any US claim, insisting Greenland's future is, he says, for Greenland and Denmark alone. Mr Trump, though, has argued the territory is vital for US defence, citing its strategic location and mineral wealth. Mr Frederiksen said the proposal, though, makes absolutely no sense and the US has no right to the land. The first illegal boat crossing of 2026 has reached the UK, bringing dozens of migrants across the Channel overnight. The journey was made in freezing sub-zero conditions after several other attempted crossings were forced to turn back because of the weather. French authorities treated a number of migrants for hypothermia after those failed attempts. The crossings come as new powers took effect today, allowing officers to seize phones and SIM cards from migrants without arrest to gather intelligence on people smugglers. The Home Office says those measures will strengthen enforcement, but Shadow Immigration Minister Matt Vickers told us he thinks the policy is just tinkering around the edges.
People who break into this country, who come in illegally without permission, without the passport, who have no right to be here, should be removed. That's how you solve this. Everybody at home knows it. It's the common sense approach, and we know it works because we tested it when we had that agreement in place with Albania. It was one of the top places from which people were arriving in the country. We stopped those people coming, we removed them straight away, and all of a sudden 93% less of them were arriving in this country. We need a deterrent, we need it in place. Everything else is tinkering around the edges.
Ofcom says it has made urgent contact with Elon Musk's AI company xAI after reports its chatbot Grok can be used to create sexualised images, including of children. GBNews has seen examples on X of users asking Grok to digitally undress women without consent. xAI's rules ban pornographic use, but the regulator says it is investigating whether safeguards are failing under the UK's Online Safety Act. European authorities are also examining the issue, while X says users who generate illegal content will face consequences. And two giants of the game have pulled the trigger on their managers as pressure boiled over on both sides of the border today. Celtic have sacked Wilfred Nancy after just 33 days in charge, marking the shortest reign in the club's history, following 6 defeats in 8 matches and a 3-1 loss to Rangers. Meanwhile, Man United have parted company with Ruben Amorim after 14 months, with the club in 6th in the Premier League. United say that decision was made reluctantly, but with no clears of progress. They say change was unavoidable. Those are the 9 o'clock headlines. I'll be back with you at 10. Now, though, it's over to Patrick.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good evening. President Trump's mission in Venezuela has caused an absolutely vintage left-wing head loss.
Well, not allowed to invade foreign countries and kidnap the president. It doesn't matter how awful he is. It doesn't matter whether or not he tortures kittens or pulls the wings off butterflies.
Well, that's James O'Brien's view. Let's cross to Venezuelan refugees in Argentina. The fruitcakes over at your party are signing a petition, yes, a petition, to demand that Starmer condemns President Trump. Let's have a look at how Venezuelan refugees in Panama are getting on. Jeremy Corbyn's piped up.
This is the behaviour of a cowboy state, not the behaviour of a member of the UN Security Council. So it needs to be condemned in the strongest possible terms.
Let's just check in with how Venezuelans who fled to Chile reacted. Zahra Sultana said that Trump won't stop with Venezuela. This is imperialism and it needs to be condemned in all its forms. Well, lefties also held an emergency online rally for the people of Venezuela. I'll tell you what, that'll show Trump, won't it? Mr. President, we need to stop. Zahra Sultana and Richard Bergen are holding an emergency online rally. Let's just see whether or not Venezuelans think that this is imperialism and that it needs to be resisted.
Because before I was even born, there have been struggles. My family has been fighting for so many years before I was even here. They have told me about it. They told me about a time where democracy existed, and now I can finally look forward to that.
Alistair Campbell and Florence of Belgravia himself, Rory Stewart, did an emergency podcast. What do they have to say?
My big hope, this is the moment Europe and its democratic allies wake up to the threat posed by the US.
By the US?
By the US.
From the US. Shall we just check back in again with the Venezuelans? Nobody for me embodies the snivelling left-wing Islington-style bubble more than Lewis Goodall, who is finally allowed to show his true colours after being unshackled from the BBC. He had a caller onto his LBC show called Sam. Now, Sam is an African man. Sam thinks Trump is right, that colonialism was actually quite a good thing, and he wants Trump to do what he did in Venezuela to parts of Africa. Sam has lived experience. Lewis Goodall is not an African man. He has no lived experience in that regard. The only stuff he knows about this subject comes from the things he's read in the rare moments he's not looking at himself in the mirror and pouting. But Sam was Lewis's worst nightmare. Here's what happened.
Many are claiming that Trump is recolonizing Venezuela. If recolonization by Trump means peace, stability, and prosperity, so be it. I would like Trump, in fact, to extend his hands and go to my native Africa. Many of the countries in Africa today failed states. They are sinking under the mountain of corruption and population explosion. This is causing a crisis that is driving millions to come abroad to look for a better life. We need to be recolonized.
Of course, Sam. Many would argue, including lots of rather eminent historians and economists, among others, that it is colonisation, and European colonisation, that was at least a significant part of the contemporary political problems of many of the states that you were talking about.
It is the opposite. If Africa was never colonized, where would we be?
Well, there were plenty of countries that weren't colonized. Japan wasn't colonized, and they're doing all right.
Well, they're doing all right, but not Africa.
Right. Well, there are countries which were colonized that are doing well, and some that weren't and aren't. So I'm not sure.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm talking from personal experience.
Yes,
I was there when the British were there.
I mean, America quite literally had a colony in the United States, in Africa, called Liberia, which has had plenty of problems. So I'm not necessarily sure that recolonisation will do terribly well.
What has happened since the American and the British left Africa? In chaos.
Right, OK. Well, Sam, it's a view, and grateful for it. Let's turn now to Lisa Smart, who is a Cabinet Office spokesperson for the Lib Dems, of course. Lisa Smart, won't ask you about
Classic, isn't it? Shuts him down, cuts him off. Hilarious. Look, don't get me wrong. I've got no idea how things are going to turn out in Venezuela. None of us do. Time will tell. But there is one establishment left-wing liberal elite narrative, and it's that Trump is bad. This whole thing is bad. It's a form of colonisation, which is bad. It's against international law, which is bad. And that's the only view you're allowed to have. Again, though, with that in mind, let's just check back in with the Venezuelans to see how they feel about it. Well, let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, and Reform member, former Tory party chairman Sir Jake Berry. Well, Carol, that was one catastrophic left-wing meltdown, wasn't it, really?
Goodall is just so funny. He couldn't cope with that, could he? No lived experience whatsoever. Sam completely trashed him. Anyway, good man, Sam. It's interesting to hear all the lefty crazies today screaming about how terrible this is for Venezuela. Where were all these crazies when Venezuela's economy was going down the toilet? Where were they when people were being starved and tortured? Where were they when dissidents were being killed and never seen again? Where were they then? Why weren't they shouting about Venezuela? You know, you got Corbyn shouting, we stand with Venezuela. No, he doesn't stand with the Venezuelan people, because we've seen what they're doing. They're partying, they're having a good time. He stands with the Marxist despot tyrant Maduro. So that's the people. People like Goodall. You've got people like Zach Polanski today screaming for Trump to do something. You know, you can only come to the conclusion that these crazed leftists want that kind of socialism in this country, the kind where if you don't do what you're told, you're sent to a prison and never seen again, the kind where Britain becomes an economic basket case, and that's where this socialist government is pushing us.
I think, Jake, there's a bit of a juxtaposition there, isn't there, between you kind of classic Islington elite lefties and the reality of Venezuelans. And it's almost like the Islington elite lefties feel as though they know a lot better and don't really care about what locals actually feel.
Well, they're clutching their pearls, aren't they? Shouting, you know, this is all about international law. This is about people and freedom. And whatever you think about Trump's actions, the former president of Venezuela was a brutal and vile dictator who refused to be bound by democratic elections, in fact, overturned the most recent set of democratic elections in Venezuela. And according to America, and I'm sure they're correct, was cooperating and collaborating with the importation of narcotics. They've described him as a narco-terrorist into the United States. Undoubtedly, the world is a better place. Now, President Trump has removed this vile, horrible dictator from this failed state. Where I do have some concerns, and I don't think it's the same concerns as those Islington lefties you're talking about, is let's see what America's plan is for what comes next. Because in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Libya, the failure of American, in that case British intervention as well, was a failure to plan for what's next. And that's what we should be focusing on for the Venezuelan people.
Yeah. I'll just say, you know, kind of quite catastrophic head loss from a lot of people on the left don't seem to be factoring in how the Venezuelans actually seem to feel about it.
Well, clearly this man was an illegitimate president. He lost the election, he was impoverishing his people, and he was corrupt. But that isn't the whole story, and I think it is incredibly dangerous for people to offer President Trump a blank cheque to just go in and abduct a foreign leader like it's some kind of Deliveroo delivery. It is not a safe thing to say that he can just do this without consequence when he could then do it to Greenland, a NATO member as part of Denmark. I also think that he has done this in a gleeful way without any plan to fix the regime. The regime is still in power in Venezuela, it's just that the head of it has gone. And so this may turn turn out to be incredibly dangerous. If you look at Afghanistan, Iraq, at so many examples, it has fallen apart. I also think there is a certain hypocrisy of President Trump doing this, because he came to power saying that he was not going to get involved in foreign wars or intervening. And I think the reason he's done this has got more to do with oil than a concern over communism.
No. This Maduro is, as we speak, called a narco-terrorist, and we know that he was importing drugs and illegal immigrants into America. He was actively encouraging illegal immigrants to go to America and cause dissent. So the oil might have something to do with it, but he has a right, as I see it, to actually tackle these people who are in his own backyard. Venezuelan politics, nothing to do with us, doesn't affect us, but it does affect Americans.
Yeah, we're going to come on talk about the actual international law aspects of this in a little bit and ask whether or not, frankly, it's dead. You know, is international law over? If it is, it's a terribly bad time to be led by an international law fanatic. So there we go. But
don't you think that? Don't you think people in this country are looking at that and thinking that they wish that Starmer had a little bit of the
cojones?
The cojones. That's a good word.
Maybe go over to France.
The one I was going to use, because if he had a fraction of Starmer, of Trump's ruthlessness, he could stop illegal immigration in a second.
We are being led by a weak, irrelevant little man, and that is going to become increasingly obvious as this saga develops. And indeed, we are going to be talking about that at 10 p.m. But yeah, look, I mean, when it comes to the kind of reaction that we've seen here, Jake, I think one of the things that stood out for me is that people like James O'Brien, Lewis Goodall, Zara Sultana, all of those kind of Jeremy Corbyn, I think what it says to me is that they would have rather had a vile narco-terrorist, corrupt, murderous, kind of left-wing communist/socialist fanatic in power. They prefer that to President Trump.
Yeah, I agree. Look, all of their commentary is borne out by a hatred of President Trump. I mean, I think, frankly, President Trump could, post everyone in, any country around the world a $50 bill or a $100 bill, and they would say it was a bad thing in imperialism. Whatever he does, they're going to say it's a bad thing because they hate him. Frankly, President Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care what these people are saying. And look, any intervention internationally that upsets Jeremy Corbyn, Rory Stewart and Owen Jones has got to be the right thing to do.
Oh, yeah, Rory Stewart. I mean, gosh, Florence of Belgravia himself there, really. I mean, what a man. They had to do an emergency podcast.
Well, I was in government with Rory.
But isn't it?
Yeah.
And, my sort of...
He was Floods Minister, I believe, at the time, for a period of time.
Well, he was First Minister, he was Prisons Minister. I just think when he was... he's made this brilliant career after politics about lecturing people about what politics should be like. He wasn't very good at it when he was doing it himself, so I'm not really sure why we should listen to him.
The general consensus from a lot of people, and Rory Stewart is not here to defend himself, but the general consensus of Rory Stewart was that he was a bit weird. I mean, do you remember when he ran for the Tory party leadership, he did that weird squatting thing and had that bizarre tash? I mean, very strange man, but, obviously he's got morals and principles, which is why he does a podcast with Alistair Campbell. But just coming on to that quite famous clip, it's gone absolutely viral, that Lewis Goodall clip, where you've got an African man there who's got lived experience, who's got a view on this kind of stuff, and Lewis Goodall, that's obviously no match for a left-wing know-it-all, is it?
But look, Rory Stewart is not the threat to the world. Donald Trump is more of a risk to safety and peace in this world than anyone on that podcast. But I just think that I'm amazed that it seems that overnight there has been a rewriting of what people think is acceptable. For 2 decades, we've had people saying that Blair was evil for trying to get rid of Saddam Hussein, who was an evil dictator that murdered millions of people, Kurds and Iraqis alike. Are we now saying that it is acceptable to just go in, have regime change, and maybe take the oil in the process? If that's the case, be honest about it. If it's not, I think we're setting a dangerous precedent.
Yeah, look, well, we're going to return to this at 10 and take it from a probably more serious angle, to be fair, than getting stuck into what we've just done there. Talk about international law. Is it dead, really? Are we out of touch now when you look at the way that the big powers are acting? Are we a big power? We'll talk about that. Starmer's position in it all. But, hey, look, before we go, I'm sure that Lewis Goodall would deny that he embodies the snivelling left-wing Islington-style bubble. He would presumably also deny that he spends a lot of time looking at himself in the mirror and pouting. I mean, in response to my accusations on Twitter, he says, I didn't shut anyone down. I had to move on to the next interview. So, hey, absolutely fair enough, Lewis. Time for the Great British Giveaway now, and it's your chance to win our biggest cash prize of the year. It's an incredible £85,000. Here's how you be in it to win it.
It's the big one. Your chance to win a whopping £85,000 in tax-free cash. The largest cash prize we've given away to date. That's like over £7,000 a month extra in your bank account each month for 12 whole months. That's a year of yes. Yes to holidays. Yes to treats. Yes to shopping trips. Yes to home improvements. What would you say yes to? For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Loads on for the rest of the show, including this.
Need to shoot down this idea that slogans, easy answers, quick fixes, shortcuts are what fix the country.
Well, that's awkward because I have compiled a list of all of Sir Keir Starmer's classic three-word slogans and soundbites. But before that, Border Force has begun seizing phones from illegal immigrants, but only if they suspect that they contain intelligence about people smugglers. But hang on a second. Why weren't we already doing this? Anyway, the first lot arrived today of the year, so that's great, isn't it? That's next.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
international law is the framework, is the anchor or the benchmark. It is, of course, for the US to justify the action that it has taken.
Well, welcome back. And that was, of course, Mr. International Law's complete word salad when he was asked about Trump's actions in Venezuela. More on that shortly. But first, though, Border Force has been given new powers to seize illegal migrants' phones. But will it be enough to stop the boats? It's time for that to head. Yeah, I know, I thought this was already happening too, but apparently it's new. British Border Force officers will be able to confiscate a migrant's mobile phone and seize their SIM card without the need for arrest under new laws to fight people smugglers. Processing sites will also have technology that can download data quickly in a bid to gather intelligence that could lead to prosecutions. Officers have also been given powers to order migrants to remove an outer coat, jacket or gloves and to conduct searches inside their mouths for hidden contraband. But crucially, they can only exercise these powers if they have grounds to believe that the migrants may have intelligence about people smuggling gangs. Meanwhile, over in the United States, illegal entries are treated as what they are, illegal.
How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
And there you go. But the new Border Force powers come on the same day that the very first illegal migrants of 2026 arrived in the UK. Dozens arrived in Dover despite sub-zero temperatures. Probably didn't welcome them ashore with a brass band or something. Congratulations, you're the first illegal migrants of 2026. So tonight I'm asking, will these powers really be enough to stop the boats? Friends of GB News can vote in this now. There's a poll on your screen, the QR code. There you go. Will seizing migrant phones help stop the small boats crisis? I'll bring you the results soon. But going head-to-head on this now, former Labour advisor Paul Richards and former Tory Immigration Minister Tom Purslove. Thank you very, very much. Tom, I'll start with you. Will these new powers do the trick?
Well, they might help a bit, and I think that it is welcome that this builds on the previous law. But actually, to go to your point, all of these phones ought to be seized for this purpose, because I don't think that any of them won't have traces on them that would help to build the intelligence picture, because all of these people have been in communication with criminal gangs, booking these crossings, arranging the logistics. So this should now be used very readily, confiscating these phones, extracting that data. But in the end, this just isn't enough. And the problem is going to continue to be that all the while you don't have a deterrent, all the while that people can come to the UK, not worry about being detained on arrival, and then go about being put in a hotel or in any other type of accommodation, hopefully with a view from their perspective of going about having a life in this country. This problem is going to continue. This is not enough.
Yeah, Paul, I mean, kind of window dressing, I would argue here. Take some phones off them, but you've got to suspect that they're involved in criminality. Then you're allowed to take the coats off them now, which is weird, because when you see them coming out of the processing centres, they've all got the same tracksuit on anyway, so they have at some point undressed.
Well, is it the single simple answer that some sort of magic bullet? Obviously, no. But is it a good step forward and another weapon in the war? Then yes, of course it is. And I mean, the point, you know, they have to have suspicion they may be involved in people smuggling. Well, by definition, almost all of them will be. So I think it's a power that will and should be very widely used, so we can start to disrupt the business model. I mean, I don't blame those poor souls on the boats in these freezing waters. I blame the scumbags who put them on the boats in the first place.
Well,
and those are the people we need to go after. And that business model, don't forget, is that they can try as many times as they like. So, you know, the people that are even disrupted and sent back just keep going. So it's stopping the people who are putting them on the boats, who are buying the boats, who are using mobile telephones to coordinate the departures and use that intel. So we need to do more with France as well. So we've got the agreement in place with France now. They need to step up also, not just stand by and watch. But all of these things add up to a series of weapons in the war. But it's not a single answer, but it's another step forward.
I would argue that giving them new council houses is also quite a big pull factor. But Tom, I'll come back to you on this. I've got to be honest with you. I looked at this story and I find it absolutely amazing that apparently if this is new, it means that under the Conservatives, whilst we had wave after wave of illegal migrant invading Britain, you guys were not taking people's phones off them, you were not searching their jackets, you were not searching their mouths. I mean, former Conservative Immigration Minister, what were you doing?
Those powers actually were beefed up, including through the Nationality and Borders Act that I took through Parliament. There is no one single answer to this. You've got to have a suite of powers that you draw upon to tackle this issue. No one thing is going to crack it. But what is absolutely clear is that you have to be willing, if you want to solve this, the fault line in British politics is now this. You're either willing to detain and relocate every last individual, or you're not. And that is the policy prospectus that I was working towards at the general election. That was in our manifesto. I really regret the fact that we weren't in a position to have the opportunity to see that through and to deliver on it. But there's nothing stopping these ministers in this government from doing that. But what we see is that we've changed the terminology. It's not even called illegal immigration anymore. They call it irregular migration. In all of the PM's comms over the new year, it's referring to it as irregular migration. It's a disaster. You just can't trust these people to resolve this.
Paul, sorry, a bit pressed for time here. Just a quick one to you. Is 2026 the year that Sir Keir Starmer smashes the gangs?
Well, it's yes, and somebody's come on and say, oh, it's all terrible. You're in charge for 10 years and more, and this is the disaster we inherited. So, you know, I just think it's a bit
You made it worse, considerably worse.
OK. Well, technically speaking, 13% worse, actually, yes. But all right, both of you, thank you very much. Right, that's former Labour advisor Paul Richards and former Conservative Immigration Minister Tom Purscliffe. Chaps, thank you very much. Happy New Year. Right, who do you agree with? Will seizing migrant phones help stop the small boats? The results are in. 9% of you said yes, and 91% of you said no. So there you go. Could turn them around, couldn't you? Anyway, coming up, we've got unemployment to hit an 11-year high, and Brits are turning down promotions so they don't have to pay more tax. New year, same old Labour government. But before that,
need to shoot down this idea that slogans, easy answers, quick fixes, shortcuts are what fix the country.
I've got a full list, comprehensive list of all of Sir Keir Starmer's slogans and sound bites. That's next.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. If you're after some warmer weather, Greece at the moment seeing temperatures above average. Still the risk of some showers across the Canary Islands at the moment and parts of Madeira. Perhaps southern Spain also seeing 1 or 2 showers, but generally some bright skies around. Heavier rain for parts of Italy on Tuesday. Could be thundery at times, and then the risk of some showers into Greece, but temperatures well above average for the time of year. And it remains so here for the next few days until eventually starting to cool down.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It will turn milder slowly through the latter half of this week, but the cold spell continues for now. Hard frost, a continued ice risk, and yes, further snow in places. That said, the snow showers in eastern England from today are fading overnight, but it could still be very icy here. Still a few flurries coming into parts of Wales, southwest England, and we will continue with a snowy risk over parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but complicated by some rain edging in here at the same time. Wherever we've had snow or rain falling, it could be icy as temperatures tumble down to -3, -4. That's towns and cities. Rural spots could, where there's snow lying on the ground, get to minus double figures. Now, it won't be as cold tonight across Scotland as last night because we've got more clouds spilling in. That's producing that mixture of rain, sleet and some snow, which could still be heavy, particularly over northern Scotland. Could be a slippery start for Northern Ireland, and for southern Scotland, northern England, you may also wake up to a covering of snow. The snow showers easing across these eastern areas, so a bright start here, but it could be icy because of the showers we've had today. Same goes for Wales and southwest England. Mostly a fine dry start here, and in fact much of the south will be dry and fine for most of Tuesday, but still on the cold side. It's across Scotland where we've got the greatest risk of further problems from the snow. Could be quite heavy across parts parts of the north. Further south, patchy rain, mostly for Northern Ireland and Northern England, with some hill snow mixed in. Still cold, but temperatures are just ticking up a little bit as we go through tomorrow. Wednesday sees a weather system clearing through, leaving behind still a northerly wind, still some wintry showers for Scotland and northeast England. A few rain showers possible elsewhere, but again, many areas dry, bright with some sunshine, but still cold. Temperatures ticking up a little, but there will be a particularly strong wind picking up in areas during the course of Wednesday. Check out all of those Met Office weather warnings for yourself on the Met Office website.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. So Sir Keir Starmer has insisted that he will still be the Prime Minister this time next year, despite the rumours within his party of an imminent leadership challenge.
To be clear, we need to turn the corner. As we're turning the corner, we need to stop the drift in this country. We need to shoot down this idea that slogans, easy answers, quick fixes, shortcuts are what fix the country.
OK, so we need to shoot down the idea that slogans can fix the country. Does he mean slogans like this?
We have a clear plan for change. Plan for change. My plan for change. This is at the heart of our plan for change.
And how could we forget?
Serious answer is to smash the gangs. We have to take those gangs down, to smash the gangs that are running this vile trade, to smash these gangs.
I mean, there's literally loads of these, aren't there? There's that decade of national renewal, but also just to complete the non-exhaustive list of the Prime Minister's soundbites.
And this is something the media will know. I said it many times in the election campaign. My dad was a tool maker. My dad was a tool maker. My dad was a tool maker. But when I grew up, my dad was a tool maker. He worked in a factory. It's true.
It's self-evident, isn't it? Joining me now is the editor of Spiked, Tom Slater. Tom, great to have you on the show. Do you think Sir Keir Starmer realises how unpopular he is?
I would hope he does. Surely he reads the newspapers. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we found out he was the most unpopular Prime Minister since records began, given the fact that that list includes Margaret Thatcher, Tony Blair, some pretty divisive characters in their own way. That takes some hell of a doing, particularly for a Prime Minister and a politician as boring as him. But when he says, I'm going to be around in 2027, I'm not even sure that he believes it. We don't believe it, the public don't believe it, his MPs don't believe it, which is why they're plotting so much. So it's very much someone kind of running around trying to convince themselves of something that even he doesn't believe in.
I mean, you mentioned that. I mean, that line that went absolutely viral, which was, you know, we can't just deal in slogans, etc. But again, that sounds like a man with zero self-awareness, isn't it?
No, absolutely. If you think about all of the slogans that we've been treated to, because there isn't much there, and also if you think about just how badly, like the past 18 months, have gone. It feels like a lot longer, but it's worth reflecting on it. So, the small boats. He said he was going to smash the gangs. Yep. He almost smashed the record for legal crossings over the Channel last year. The economy, he said there was going to be a laser-like focus on growth, another slogan. Nice. He posted basically no growth since he went to war with the farmers, didn't he? He went to war with the pensioners. He's now set about trying to pull away jury trials. He's trying to scupper Brexit. He's been corroding freedom of speech. He's cancelling elections. He accidentally let that anti-Semitic lunatic into the country over Christmas. Now with this Venezuela situation, he's junked the one thing he ever sincerely seemed to care about, which is international laws. So it's really not going well, I don't think, Patrick. And I don't even think that he can paper over the cracks anymore.
I remember that time as well that they tried, the Labour Party line was, if you are against the Online Safety Act, you are on the side of paedophiles.
Yeah.
That was just, wow, OK, fine. And it was Nigel Farage would have let Jimmy Savile prowl the internet was on one. But very, very strange behaviour, really, when it comes to that kind of thing. So I suppose, yeah, do you think that we are going to see a change of Labour leader and therefore Prime Minister this coming year?
I mean, it's difficult to say because of the fact that if the Labour Party were honest with themselves, the reason they got themselves into this situation is because how weak a lot of the alternatives are. I mean, people are talking about Wes Streeting. He's not very popular when you poll him amongst Labour voters, let alone the country. He's someone, he might well lose his seat, as you say, holding on to a very slim majority. He's someone who can give a good line, so therefore the lobby journalists really like him, but he's clearly not the sort of person to deal with the crises that face us. And therefore, you could easily see a situation where Keir Starmer clings on purely because of the lack of alternatives. But clearly, this is up. You cannot run a country when you don't even have the support of your own party, let alone a majority over the nation in which you're supposed to govern. That's going to hit the wall at some point, surely.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously Keir Starmer is the man in charge, therefore he's going to face the most criticism. I think it's important that we do just take a second to remember exactly how kind of catastrophically chaotic things were during the Conservative Party, and a lot of things like the segment I was just talking about before, you know, it's new information now that we're taking phones and maybe a coat off an illegal migrant when they land in Dover. You know, why the hell weren't the Conservatives doing this on steroids for 14 years? So a lot of this, unquestionably, is the Conservatives' fault. But, you know, you look at Keir Starmer there now, and he's doing these interviews, and you point out that Venezuela situation. For me, anyway, there's a sense that we are being led fundamentally by a very weak man. And we're not really a nation of weak men, actually, and I think that's a bit of a problem.
And also, we live in times in which you can't have weak leaders. You think of the fact that we've got war in Europe, you think of the fact that we've got a restive population, energy crises. Having Keir Starmer in power is like bringing a spoon to a knife fight in that kind of situation. The other thing that I think is a big problem for him is the fact that he's very much a creature of the sort of Blairite technocratic consensus that we've had in this country for many decades. The consequences of those policies are being made abundantly clear all around us. Mass immigration, idiotic foreign policy, the list goes on and on and on. Keir Starmer is someone who very naturally defers to all of those orthodoxies. So the idea that he's trying to navigate us through this new, quite uncertain era just doesn't make any sense, and particularly because of the fact that, as you say, even amongst the empty suits and the technocrats, he's a particularly unimpressive individual.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, this country does not want, I don't believe anyway, anyone, man or woman, who hides behind quangos, hides behind inquiries, hides behind international law, all of that stuff. They do want to feel led. Any successful country ever has felt led, and it doesn't really look like that at the moment. Also, I mean, utterly humourless.
Yeah. No,
that's
quite.
That is a problem. You know, you used to be able to make people chuckle.
Particularly these days, where we're entering a kind of era of showmen on left and right. Keir Starmer is not one of life's great showmen. So what does he have to show for him? He doesn't have the principle, he doesn't have the pizzazz. What are you left with?
Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much, Tom. Great to see you, as ever. Tom Slater there, who is the editor of Spikes. Look, obviously Keir Starmer will say that he inherited an absolute mess. He does say that, and that he's doing his best. And this year is going to be the year that you're going to feel the real difference for him. In steams Keir. Anyway, coming up at 10 p.m.
International law is the framework, is the anchor or the benchmark. It is, of course, for the US to justify the action that it has taken.
Mr. International Law. Well, let's see how he deals with what's going on in Venezuela. Lots of word salad so far. I think he's becoming increasingly irrelevant. But before that,
the choices we've made will mean more people will begin to feel positive change in your bills, your communities, and your health service.
That was his New Year message. Unemployment is about to hit an 11-year high. Brits are turning down promotions and pay rises so they don't have to pay more tax. New Year, same old Labour government. That's next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here. GBNews,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GBNews, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GBNews, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation.
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick, Christys tonight. Happy New Year? Well, not for the UK economy, of course, under this Labour government. So, according to new research by the Daily Telegraph out today, 2 in 5 high-paid workers are now turning down promotions, cutting their hours, or even donating more money to charity to avoid a £100,000 tax trap, which would see them lose access to free childcare allowances. And it gets worse. UK unemployment is set to soar to an 11-year high by the end of this year. That's according to a report published today by the Resolution Foundation. But this will all be news to the Prime Minister because he's busy celebrating the so-called progress his government will apparently make this year, writing on social media, wages are rising faster than prices, waiting lists are down, inflation and interest rates are falling. This year, Britain will turn the corner and you will start to feel the change we promised. Well, joining us now is the Director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. Mark, thank you very, very much. Is there any truth to what the Prime Minister said there?
It's a wish and a prayer, Patrick. As you rightly say, Happy New Year to you, Happy New Year, Britain. We're 5 days in and already the signs are bleak, right? Unemployment could well tick up to its highest level ever. We're not going to turn a corner as far as the British economy is concerned. We're more likely to crash into a wall. It's possible we could get lucky because of external events. You know, if the American economy keeps performing well, if the war in Ukraine ends, stuff can happen elsewhere and we might catch a lucky breeze. But I'm afraid everything the Labour government's done, all of our homegrown stuff and problems, and I will concede some of the problems they inherited from the previous Conservative government, all points in one direction, and that's everything's going to be very sluggish. I would be amazed if people feel positive change by the end of the year or feel any richer. I think the opposite is more likely.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, those figures are pretty stark that we just read out for you there, which is, of course, that UK unemployment is set to soar to an 11-year high by the end of the year. I mean, there's no spinning that, is there?
There's no spinning that, but there should also be no real surprise about it, right? We've probably now put the minimum wage up so high that it is having an unemployment effect. We are crushing our hospitality sector, so it's very difficult for them to hire workers. So it's more likely people are going to be laid off rather than recruited. So all of the signs, all of the theory would point to the fact that unemployment's going up. And then that other key headline that you pointed to, Patrick, this is really important. We have such a bizarre tax system We have the most complicated tax system in the world. Our tax code, our tax rule book is 14 times the length of War and Peace and even more boring, but it's got all sorts of anomalies in it. And that one that you touched upon about people who might be getting towards £100,000. Now, probably most GB News viewers won't be shedding too many tears for these people. They're doing pretty well. But they're a crucial segment of the economy. Because if you've got people who are earning 85, 90, £95,000, typically these people are the real drivers of our economy. They could be directors of companies. And because of our weird tax system, the highest tax rate you face on your income is just over £100,000. It's higher at that point than if you're earning £1 million a year. So lots of people are now saying, well, if I'm in the mid-90s, the high 90s, why strive? I've got to earn another £25,000. If the next £25,000 you earn, over 100 grand, you lose 62% of it to the government. Now, that is a massive, massive drag on enterprise. It's no wonder people are saying, well, you know what, I'd rather work. All of this pushes it in the wrong direction. Sluggish growth is the most likely outcome.
Look, obviously, as you've already mentioned there, I mean, the Conservatives didn't cover themselves in glory when it came to high tax and the fact that the economy was pretty sluggish and all of that stuff. But it also says something to me about human nature. By the way, just whilst you were talking there, I've just seen a headline here that apparently Claire's Accessories and the original factory shop are near collapse. 2,500 jobs at risk there. You seem to be hearing these stories quite a lot. But for me, this tells you a lot about human nature. Labour's socialist dream. Actually, in reality, people don't want to pay a huge amount of tax. And when they get the whiff that they are about to pay a huge amount of tax, they might either leave the country or they will deliberately turn down a pay rise or a promotion.
That's right. I mean, people are pretty smart at reacting to incentives, Patrick. Sometimes there's a bit of a time lag. When this extraordinary 62% tax rate came in, it was actually at the fag end of the previous Labour government. It was brought in by Alistair Darling, although I confess the Conservatives didn't do anything to fix it in their 14 years in office. Now, it's rare that you immediately change your behaviour because of a change in tax rate, right? If your tax rate goes up a couple of percent or there's a change in the thresholds, it's pretty unlikely that you immediately quit your job and immediately flee the country. But over time, you get wise to it. You start thinking, well, hang on, this is the fifth, sixth time I filed a tax return. Doesn't seem to make much sense here that I should be striving to earn more money. So all of that feeds through, and we're now really feeling the point of that.
Mark, thank you very much. Absolute pleasure. Enjoy Tenerife as well. Mark Littlewood there, Director of Public Conservatives. Hopefully he's not fled, he's coming back. Anyway, coming up at 10 p.m.
International law is the framework, is the anchor or the benchmark. It is, of course, for the US to justify the action that it has taken.
Well, we're going to talk about how Mr. International Law is doing when it comes to President Trump in Venezuela. I think he's been outed as a bit of a hypocrite. But West Midlands police fabricated evidence to pander to the Muslim community and ban the Israeli team from coming to the UK. And all your front pages next hour.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It will turn milder slowly through the latter half of this week, but the cold spell continues for now. Hard frost, a continued ice risk, and yes, further snow in places. That said, the snow showers in eastern England from today are fading overnight, but it could still be very icy here. Still a few flurries coming into parts of Wales, southwest England, and we will continue with a snowy risk over parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but complicated by some rain edging in here at the same time. Wherever we've had snow or rain falling, it could be icy as temperatures tumble down to -3, -4. That's towns and cities. Rural spots could, where there's snow lying on the ground, get to minus double figures. Now, it won't be as cold tonight across Scotland as last night because we've got more clouds spilling in. That's producing that mixture of rain, sleet and some snow, which could still be heavy, particularly over northern Scotland. Could be a slippery start for Northern Ireland, and for southern Scotland, northern England, you may also wake up to a covering of snow. The snow showers easing across these eastern areas, so a bright start here, but it could be icy because of the showers we've had today. So same goes for Wales and southwest England. Mostly a fine, dry start here. And in fact, much of the south will be dry and fine for most of Tuesday, but still on the cold side. It's across Scotland where we've got the greatest risk of further problems from the snow. Could be quite heavy across parts of the north. Further south, patchy rain, mostly for Northern Ireland and Northern England, with some hill snow mixed in. Still cold, but temperatures are just ticking up a little bit as we go through tomorrow. Wednesday sees a weather system clearing through, leaving behind still a northerly wind, still some wintry showers for Scotland and northeast England. A few rain showers possible elsewhere, but again, many areas dry, bright with some sunshine, but still cold. Temperatures ticking up a little, but there will be a particularly strong wind picking up in areas during the course of Wednesday. Check out all of those Met Office weather warnings for yourself on the Met Office website.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello from the Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland. We're on an amazing Arctic adventure to celebrate our greatest cash giveaway, a simply stunning £85,000. And in 2026, we're giving you the chance to win it all.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
You are not allowed to invade foreign countries and kidnap the president. It doesn't matter how awful he is. It doesn't matter whether or not he tortures kittens.
left-wing meltdown over Venezuela.
This is the behaviour of a cowboy state, not the behaviour of a member of the UN Security Council. So,
Hang on. Let's just check in with how the Venezuelans feel about it. Well, how is Mr. International Law handling it?
International law is the framework. is the anchor or the benchmark. It is, of course, for the US to justify the action that it has taken.
It's just a weak man who hasn't got a view. In other news... Lovely bunch of lads. West Midlands police fabricated evidence to pander to the Muslim community and ban an Israeli team from the UK. And some breaking news on the front of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph. Rachel Reeves blocked cash for struggling pubs. That really is a remarkable story when you think about it, isn't it? They've done the farmers, they've done the small businesses, they've tried to do the elderly, and then bingo, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, appears to have blocked cash for struggling pubs. What on earth is going on there? I'll have the full details for you at 10:30. On my panel tonight, Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, we've got journalist Benjamin Butterworth and the former Tory party chairman and Reform UK member Sir Jake Berry, and find out why this guy...
Welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz.
was taken down by Somali pirates. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Are we being led by a very weak man? Next.
Very good evening to you. The top story tonight at 10. Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro has pled not guilty to drug trafficking and other charges during his first court appearance in New York today, insisting, he says, "I am still president." Today's hearing ended with a tense exchange in court as Maduro described himself as a prisoner of war while protesters gathered outside. Maduro and his wife were seized from their compound in Caracas over the weekend and flown to the United States in a dramatic special forces operation ordered by President Donald Trump. The unprecedented move has sparked international backlash, with the UN Security Council debating the legality of the operation amid fears of wider regional instability. Well, Donald Trump has defended his actions, while here at home, Sir Keir Starmer's faced criticism for refusing to condemn US action in Venezuela. Earlier, our political editor Chris Hope spoke to the Prime Minister.
Look, people will take different positions on this, but I think the vast majority of Labour voters and supporters, in fact the vast majority of people across the country, would say the most important thing is that peaceful transition to democracy. It's been years in the waiting, and now we need a period of stabilisation, but we mustn't lose sight of the fact that the most important thing is that transition to democracy in Venezuela.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has said he stands with Denmark after Donald Trump suggested the United States should annex Greenland. Sir Keir Starmer said Denmark's Prime Minister Frederiksen was right to reject any US claim, insisting Greenland's future is for Greenland and Denmark alone. Mr. Trump has argued the territory is vital for US defence, citing its strategic location and mineral wealth. Mr. Frederiksen, though, said the proposal makes absolutely no sense and the US has no right to the land. The first illegal boat crossing of 2026 has reached the UK, bringing dozens of migrants across the Channel. The journey was made in freezing sub-zero conditions after several other attempted crossings were forced to turn back because of the weather. French authorities treated a number of migrants for hypothermia after those failed attempts. The crossings come as new powers today took effect, allowing officers to seize phones and SIM cards from migrants without arrest to gather intelligence on people smugglers. Well, the Home Office says those measures will strengthen enforcement, but Shadow Immigration Minister Matt Vickers told us he thinks the policy is just tinkering around the edges.
People who break into this country, who come in illegally without permission, without the passport, who have no right to be here, should be removed. That's how you solve this. Everybody at home knows it. It's a common sense approach, and we know it works because we tested it when we had that agreement in place with Albania. It was one of the top places from which people were arriving in the country. We stopped those people coming, we removed them straight away, and all of a sudden, 93% less of them were arriving in this country. We need a deterrent, we need it in place. Everything else is tinkering around the edges.
And two familiar names on the high street are teetering tonight, with Claire's and the original factory shop heading into administration, putting around 2,500 jobs at risk. Their owner, Modella Capital, says last-ditch rescue efforts failed after what it described as alarmingly weak Christmas trading. More than 1,300 roles at Claire's and over 1,200 at the original factory shop are now under threat across the UK and Ireland. The firm blames tough trading conditions, low consumer confidence and rising costs as administrators step in to buy time and hunt for new buyers. Those are the 10 o'clock headlines. I'll be back with you in an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good evening. President Trump's actions in Venezuela show that Sir Keir Starmer is a weak man who doesn't stand for anything. Keir Starmer is Mr. International Law. He was Mr. International Law when it came to giving away British sovereign territory, the Chagos Islands, and making the British taxpayer pay Mauritius billions of pounds to take them off us.
Base is one of the most significant contributions that we make to our security relationship with the United States, which is critical for keeping Britain safe. The courts have already made decisions which undermine our position. And if Mauritius took us to court again, which they certainly would have, the UK's long-standing legal view is that we would not have a realistic prospect of success and would likely face provisional measures orders within a matter of weeks.
He was Mr. International Law when it came to the Rwanda plan. The ECHR said we couldn't do it, so we just scrapped it.
The Rwanda scheme was dead and buried before it started. It's never been a deterrent, and I'm not prepared to continue with gimmicks that don't act as a deterrent.
He is Mr. International Law when it comes to not turning the boats back in the Channel and when it comes to not deporting foreign wrong'uns. Murderers, terrorists, rapists and paedophiles have all used the ECHR to stay in Britain. He has been Mr. International Law when it comes to agreeing to give compensation to an Islamist double murderer who took a prison officer hostage. He won his case, citing the ECHR. Starmer chose not to appeal it. He dispatched his great friend and now our Attorney General to say this about international law.
Now, I'm proud to say that since taking office, this new United Kingdom government has taken steps to uphold our obligations and the international rules-based system. The new United Kingdom government will never withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights or refuse to comply with judgments of the court.
Starmer is Mr. International Law when it comes to international agreements that we've signed about net zero. We've got a cold snap. Right now, people will be freezing in their own homes because they can't afford to put the heating on. But last year, Norway explored 33 new oil and gas sites in the North Sea. Britain? Zero. Instead, we've got this guy who serenades wind farms.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Sir Keir Starmer cares so much about international law that he is willing to give away British territory and make you pay for it, to leave our borders wide open to illegal immigrants, to potentially not deport those illegal immigrants even if they kill or rape someone, and to let people shiver in their own homes. That's how much he loves international law. In fact, he can't stop talking about it.
We either comply with international law or we don't.
I've been a lifelong advocate of international law.
Because we comply with international law.
And then, this happens.
Venga por mí!
Last night, on the order of the President of the United States,
Aquí lo esperan Miraflores!
and in support of a request from the Department of Justice,
No se tarde en llegar!
the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro.
Cobarde!
So, what does Mr. International Law have to say about America sneaking into a sovereign country and grabbing their leader and his wife out of bed in the dead of night?
Well, the position of this government is that what we need in Venezuela is a peaceful transition to democracy. That was our position before this weekend. It remains our position. The president was illegitimate and caused untold misery across Venezuela. International law is the framework, is the anchor or the benchmark against which we judge the actions of all other governments. And it is, of course, for the US to justify the action that it has taken.
That's pathetic, isn't it? It's basically no view, isn't it? The Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, all she can summon up is this ridiculous word salad.
And in my discussions with Secretary Rubio, I raised the importance of complying with international law, and we will continue to urge all partners to do so at every stage. It is, of course, for the US to set out the legal basis for their actions, and the UN Security Council is discussing Venezuela this afternoon. These issues will continue to be matters for international discussion.
The Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, Darren Jones, I mean, he can't even give a straight answer.
Donald Trump is the President of the United States of America, Camilla. It's for him to set out the legal basis and his decisions for the operations he took. The UK was not involved in any way. I'm giving you a straightforward answer, Camilla, and it doesn't matter one way or another because this was an operation conducted by the United States. The UK was not involved in any way. Questions about international law are for the American administration to explain in terms of the legal basis of their operation and for any challenge to that application to be conducted through international courts, not through the British government.
Well, they just can't give you a view. They can't, can they? Now, I'm keeping an open mind about what President Trump did in Venezuela, but this isn't about me. This is about Mr. International Law. Starmer either has principles or he doesn't, and clearly he doesn't. And we have asked, why are we obsessed with international law if nobody else is? There are 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. They are China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom and the United States. China and Russia don't give a toss about international law. The United States answers to nobody, so that leaves us and France. And we adhere to far more ECHR rulings than the French. So really, we're the mugs, aren't we? The Americans didn't consult Sir Keir Starmer on Venezuela, just like they didn't consult him about bombing Iran. Starmer has said that he wants to wait to speak to Trump before making his mind up. At the time I've come to air, President Trump has still not bothered to pick the phone up to Mr. International Law in number 10. What is clear to me is that Starmer picks and chooses what international laws he follows, and he seems to only follow the ones that negatively impact us. The Venezuela situation has shown that we are being led by a follower. Starmer waits to see what other people think before he says or does anything. The world is in an age of strong men. Britain is being led by a very, very weak one. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, the Reform member, former chairman of the Tory party, Sir Jake Berry. Look, Carol, you know, it doesn't really matter what we think about what Trump has done in Venezuela. We know what Sir Keir Starmer should think. He is, as I've been repeatedly saying that, Mr. International Law, but only when it affects us.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you were talking about international law as a concept. I mean, I think it's becoming increasingly irrelevant now. It's a failed project, a dead man walking project. You know, there's a massive gap between the aspirations of international criminal law and the reality of the people it affects. And that's what's happening now. You know, international law doesn't stop wars. It doesn't protect people, as we've seen in Venezuela. And I think, like any belief system, it's a core collection of words that has lost touch with the realities of what it's supposed to mean. And I think, you know, with Starmer, he will completely believe that what Trump has done is entirely wrong. He spent his whole career being a lawyer, an international lawyer, and so we know what he thinks, but he's too gutless to say it. And he's too gutless to say it because he's terrified in case he upsets Trump, which, as you said before, shows, you know, what prize his principles. You know, he's a frightened little man. And I just think that, you know, Trump had a right to confront a banana republic that was sending drugs into his country and sending drug barons and illegal immigrants into his country, whether you like Trump or not. But Starmer doesn't have the guts to say any of that because he's ruled by the likes of Lord Hermer, who says that international law, that we are in this country are better for sticking to international law, when of course we're not, because we've seen how it's been abused in terms of the ECHR, how we let immigrants in. We see how it's being abused in the Chagos Islands, where the Chagosians asked whether they wanted to be handed back to Mauritius. No, they weren't. No. But Starmer has chosen to follow an international law which says the UK's, dominance of them was unlawful.
Is the age, Sir Jake, of international law over?
Yes.
Well, I mean, we've learned a few things in the last couple of days. First of all, that Britain is effectively completely irrelevant when it comes to America and their decision-making about their own security and defence. It's an absolute disgrace that our Prime Minister actually said, when he was asked about this, I'm going to watch President Trump's press conference to find out what's going on. I mean, Britain has become completely irrelevant. That's the first thing we've learned.
Still hasn't spoken to him, apparently.
Be quiet. And then the second thing we've learned is that this international rules-based system personified by the United Nations and things like the ECHR is completely out of date. Let's deal with them in order. First of all, the UN, if you look at the Permanent Security Council members, you listed them, everything which is controversial is vetoed by someone. So China has its sphere of influence, Russia has its sphere of influence, and America has its sphere of influence. They all have an absolute veto over any ruling of the UN. It effectively makes it completely irrelevant. And then there are lots of countries like India and Brazil, which are now major economies, who are not on the Permanent Security Council, who should be. It's an outdated institution. Look at the ECHR, run by activist judges who have their own agenda, who are every year there's about 10,000 judgments given forward by the ECHR court, all of which are accepted into UK law without question, stopping our country doing what we want to do. And that international rules-based order, that international law that Keir Starmer clings to, has served Britain very badly.
Yeah.
It's seen Britain lose its empire. It's seen Britain lose its influence overseas. It's seen most recently Britain lose the Chagos Islands.
And its borders.
And actually, and lose control of its borders and the right to give people... We've now got a court case where Shamima Begum is taking the UK government to court to take away the right of Britain to decide who should have a passport or not. Our government is failing us just as these international rules are failing us. And the final thing I'll say, Patrick, it's time for a strong man. That is why people are backing Nigel Farage in every opinion poll, because they know he will stand up for Britain where Starmer won't.
Benjamin, I'll bring you in here. Now, I was watching what was going on in the House of Commons earlier when Yvette Cooper was talking. I thought Kemi Badenoch asked a perfectly good question, which is, where is the Prime Minister? Wasn't there. Don't know why not. Wasn't there. But then I was thinking the whole time Yvette Cooper was talking, if you were in opposition, I know exactly what you would be saying. You would be saying that this broke international law, that we need to stand up to President Trump, that... By the way, I don't necessarily agree with this myself. I'm just saying that this is exactly what Labour would have been saying. We need to stand up to President Trump. You can't give in to this. We could be next. Anyone could be next. And they're not, are they? They're not. They're not saying any of that because they're weak, fundamentally, and they haven't actually got any principles.
Well, Keir Starmer is a politician. He's the Prime Minister, and he is not a lawyer. And I think he has been the definition of strength in dealing with questions like this, because you would not get any position of strength from condemning Trump on a dispute between the Americas for which the US president has already made his action.
Talk to him anyway.
So the fact is that being diplomatic, being pragmatic is obviously the way to go in this situation, because there is nothing that any other country, frankly, whether it's Britain or France or Russia or China, could do to influence Trump's decision.
So we can't... So just to be clear on this, just to be clear on this then, in the mind of Sir Keir Starmer, we can't turn boats back in the Channel, even though we've had a merry procession of rapists, paedophiles and terrorists and murderers just making their way across it. We can't turn those boats back because that would contravene international law. But if a state decides that they're going to essentially invade a sovereign country and pluck their leader out of bed next to his wife, that's basically all right, is it?
Well, the difference is that France involves us, and if we were to turn the boats back and invade their waters, that would be a declaration of war. So unless you're going to pluck Macron from his palace, then I don't think that's a very sensible thing to do.
Push him back.
The fact is that if we had condemned Trump in this, as a country, as a Prime Minister, we would gain nothing. We would lose out. The way Keir Starmer has managed his relationship with President Trump is very effective. I would also just finally say, given that you all spoke for ages, is that international law has served this country very well. The reason we've had 80 years of peace, that it's not normal to go into other countries and overthrow, is because of international law.
Does not stop wars, and it has served this country very badly.
So why have we had so few wars?
In terms of mass immigration. And we can't blame Trump for the disintegration of international law. It was happening long before him, as we've seen for decades. That's like, and the thing I remember, the International Criminal Court, that was formed, you know, this 1998 or something. It was set up to hold perpetrators of vile crimes, to bring them to justice when their own country wouldn't. Do you know how many convictions the International Criminal Court has had in 23 years? 11. And they've all been from people for criminal states. So how good is international law? Well, we've seen vile things happening in the world over. It doesn't work. And dominant countries just ignore it.
But let's just be clear that the countries that have been most invested in that have shaped international law, of which the US and UK are fundamental, we have had peace. It has worked for those that abided by it.
OK, well,
it has.
Well, not a massive peace.
We've had 8 years of peace on this continent.
Doesn't this show the weakness? Doesn't this show the weakness of Keir Starmer?
But they were just to point out, they were prosecuted.
Okay,
so
in relation to the Chagos Islands, the international ruling was advisory only.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know, and we could have just, which actually David Cameron, in all fairness, said, take this off my desk. I'm never doing this. This damages Britain's interest. This is an international base. We need to maintain it, to maintain our close relationship with the Americans. And Keir Starmer's Attorney General, Lord Hermer, said, even though it's advisory, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to not just give away British sovereign territory, but pay to give away. And then, by the way, the real thing that sticks in my craw is pretend you're increasing the defence budget, which we're not doing in reality, by including the money we're paying to the Chagos, to Mauritius, to take the Chagos Islands.
If Starmer had any cojones, he would have increased our defence budget by 1% a day, just to protect us, to make it look like he was doing something.
Well,
and he
look, the thing is, it feels anyway like we're being left behind. OK? Yeah. Like, you've got an era now, especially an era now, of predominantly strong men leaders. You look at the way that the great big powers are operating, and you look at the way that we're operating, and it concerns me. It's weak. It's very limp-wristed.
But decline isn't destiny. We are still one of the largest economies in the world. And, you know, we could still be powerful on the world stage. We just have a very, very weak leader who's taken a weak
And also, just to conclude, first of all, it wouldn't be a good thing for us to be getting involved in this dispute in the Americas. Yeah. That is a waste of time. Secondly, we're expected to
That's not why
we're
he's
expected
not
to go
involved,
up.
though.
We're expected to be the 5th biggest economy, overtaking Japan by the middle of the century. Our future is bright.
Unemployment's supposed to be at an 11-year high by the end of the year.
But not if you measure it by GDP per capita. We're going backwards.
The point of discussion about it is I think for a lot of people at home, it feels as though we're getting all the negatives of international law and not any of the positives. Yes. And when other countries just ignore it, it doesn't seem to matter for them. So why are we? But anyway, right. OK, look, loads on. Absolute shocker of a story, by the way, from West Midlands Police. You will not believe what they've done. But before that, take your mind off it. £85,000 in tax-free cash. Here's how can be in it to win it.
It's the big one. Your chance to win a whopping £85,000 in tax-free cash. The largest cash prize we've given away to date. That's like over £7,000 a month extra in your bank account each month for 12 whole months. That's a year of yes. Yes to holidays. Yes to treats. Yes to shopping trips. Yes to home improvements. What would you say yes to? For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yep, so all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages coming your way. Breaking news on the front of the Telegraph is that Rachel Reeves apparently blocked cash for struggling pubs. There is also, as well, by the way, one on the eye paper. Over 70s face a driving ban for failing new eyesight tests. But first, West Midlands police have been accused of fabricating evidence, yes, fabricating evidence to ban an Israeli team from the UK. Nick Timothy, the Tory MP, who's been driving the investigation on this, is with me in the studio next.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, here at Holbrook Animal Rescue, they're being forced to relocate, and if they can't find a suitable alternative, they'll even be at risk of closing. And I've seen the amazing work that they've done here. Just earlier we met a dog called Essie who has just found her almost possible forever home literally in the time that we were here. She only came here a couple of days ago, so it's really great work that they do for all animals. Like this one here, this is Torn, he's just a puppy, and I'm also joined by Laura Santini, who runs the shelter. Tell us a bit about Torn here.
So this is just a little fellow that came in, no fault of his own. The people just couldn't cope with him. So he's lively and he's a half shepherd, half Labrador. What kind of impact would the possible relocation or even closure have on dogs like this one and all the other animals you have here? Well, simply that we wouldn't be able to take them. So if the next one comes up like this and we've got nowhere to go, then we just can't take them, obviously. So what happens to them at that point, I don't know, because we don't just take beautiful pups like this. We take the old and the sick and the dogs that other people don't necessarily want to take. So I can't imagine what would happen to some of them. So I don't know. It's sad. It's just a sad situation. And you've had quite a lot of support from the community here in trying to relocate. What's been there for you in terms of support? They're absolutely incredible. They've sent 1,000 letters into the council to try and support us and help us and let everyone see the light that, you know, you do actually need animal sanctuaries around. You can't shut them all down. We're always getting phone calls saying how much people like what we do and hope we get our planning appeal when it goes through and things like that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Shortly, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, but this is an absolutely catastrophic story. West Midlands Police reportedly consulted mosques who hosted anti-Semitic preachers before banning Israeli fans from an Aston Villa football match last year. The force has been under increased pressure to explain why officers decided to ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from a Europa League fixture in November, a move, of course, which was widely condemned as anti-Semitic. Now, according to The Telegraph, two of the Muslim organisations that the police force consulted as part of its, quotes, community engagement drive, have allegedly hosted preachers who promoted anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and called for the death of Jews. Now, it's also been claimed that police officers, produced false evidence to retrospectively justify banning the Israelis after the decision was already agreed. West Midlands Police are accused of drawing up the so-called intelligence after the local council privately said it had been challenged and needed a clearer rationale. The evidence they relied on was later rubbished by Dutch police. I'm joined now by the Tory MP Nick Timothy, who's been instrumental in bringing all of this to light for us. So thank you very much, Nick, and a Happy New Year to you. Can you just explain to me the nature of this fabricated evidence by West Midlands Police?
Yeah, I mean, look, firstly, this is a really important story because this is about whether the police do their jobs without fear or favour, which is what the policing oath demands of them. But it's also about who has the power in modern multicultural Britain. Because I think what this story shows is that in parts of our country, it's actually the Islamists who are in charge and not the general public, and not not the elected government or elected councils. So it's a little bit complicated, but the chronology of this is really important. So Aston Villa drew Maccabi Tel Aviv, an Israeli football team in the Europa League, and that game was played in November last year. There was a big reaction from local Islamists, including there was also the local MP, who's a so-called Gaza independent, who wanted the game cancelled altogether. So there was a lot of pressure and a lot of worry that there might be sort of violence on the streets and that kind of thing. And at the first meeting of what's called the Safety Advisory Group, which is a committee of Birmingham City Council, the police told that meeting that their plan was to ban Israeli fans from coming to Villa Park. But according to the minutes, which we now have copies of, that decision was made, quotes, in the absence of intelligence. So then, a day later, the chairman of the committee wrote to the police and said that they needed to find, quotes, a more clear rationale for the decision. Now, obviously, the rationale is supposed to precede the decision. In this case, the decision preceded the rationale. And then all of a sudden, by magic, by the 16th, is that intelligence, we've got all the documents to prove this now, that intelligence came from an online call that the police held with their Dutch counterparts on the 1st of October. That is before the first meeting was held, when the first decision was made, supposedly, so they say, in the absence of intelligence. And also, the Dutch police have been absolutely clear on the record, talking to the Sunday Times and others, in saying that what West Midlands Police have said about their experience when Maccabi Tel Aviv played Ajax a year earlier, that all of that was completely untrue.
Yeah, and that is pretty damning for West Midlands Police. I'm going to play a clip now which cuts, I think, to the first point you said about who holds power in multicultural Britain. This is a clip from West Midlands Police.
Salam alaikum. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to the leaders and elders that have afforded me this opportunity to speak to you personally.
Salam alaikum. I would like to thank the elders and community leaders for allowing me, a police officer, to talk to you today. There's a power imbalance there, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I won't necessarily comment on that particular clip because I don't know the full context, but we do know that there is an issue in different parts of the country when it comes to the way the police handle, what they think of as community leaders, representing minority interests. Quite often that's with the Muslim population in mind. So we've already seen the stories about, and all the evidence mounting about, the rape gangs and the failure of the police and others to intervene and to prosecute the perpetrators of those terrible crimes. We've seen examples of blasphemy laws effectively creeping in through the back door because the authorities won't prosecute people who make threats of violence against people who have criticised their religious beliefs or said things that they deem to be offensive or blasphemous. And in this case, we basically had the mob, sometimes represented by irresponsible local MPs or councillors, but the mob saying we're not prepared to have Israelis come to the city we live in. And instead of making this a test case and the police saying, no, you don't get to decide who comes to this city, you don't get to decide who gets to walk around public spaces, who gets to share a football stadium, and we're going to have a massive show of strength to show that we're capable of enforcing the law. they decided to appease the mob, and we all know where appeasement ends.
Yeah, and very, very quickly, Nick, if that's okay. Just so we're really clear on this, I mean, essentially this is West Midlands Police fabricating evidence to suit the, well, some would argue the local Muslim, some would say pro-Palestinian community, etc. Do people have to resign over this? I know you're a very polite man, you probably don't like calling for people to go, but, you know, at what point does someone have to go for this?
I hate to dash your expectations of my manners, but I've already called for the Chief Constable to go. I think his position is completely untenable. He's been called back to the Home Affairs Select Committee, which will meet tomorrow. That is actually unprecedented for a serving Chief Constable to be recalled, and it's happened because the committee did not believe what he said at the first session last year.
Oof. Wow, I know what we're doing tomorrow night. Nick, thank you very, very much. Absolute pleasure as always, and well done, actually, because I've been watching this unfold over the course of the last month, and you've been utterly tenacious, probably doing a better job than most journalists, including myself. So well done. Thank you very much. Tory MP Nick Timothy there. Right, okay, West Midlands Police said it had nothing more to add, but in a previous statement, the force said a huge amount of planning went into the operation with the aim of preventing crime and disorder and disruption to the game and keeping everyone safe. The operation achieved its aim of keeping everyone in attendance safe, and this is down to the hard work of all our police officers and staff from West Midlands Police and other forces around the country. They go on to say that our work is to listen to the concerns of Birmingham, and it's going to continue. And of course, it is a diverse area. Chief Constable Guildford says that the force engaged with key figures in the Jewish community as well. He said that there was no documented feedback from Jewish representatives prior to the decision being communicated in support of the ban, since their members of the community had offered their support in confidence. Right, OK, look, coming up, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Rachel Reeves apparently has blocked cash for struggling pubs. The other biggie, I think, apart from the Venezuela stuff, clearly, is that over 70s, which might be you, are going to be banned from driving if you fail eyesight tests. Is that fair? It's next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. If you're after some warmer weather, Greece at the moment seeing temperatures above average. Still the risk of some showers across the Canary Islands at the moment and parts of Madeira. Perhaps southern Spain also seeing 1 or 2 showers, but generally some bright skies around. Heavier rain for parts of Italy on Tuesday. Could be thundery at times, and then the risk of some showers into Greece, but temperatures well above average for the time of year. And it remains so here for the next few days until eventually starting to cool down.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It will turn milder slowly through the latter half of this week, but the cold spell continues for now. Hard frost, a continued ice risk, and yes, further snow in places. That said, the snow showers in eastern England from today are fading overnight, but it could still be very icy here. Still a few flurries coming into parts of Wales, southwest England, and we will continue with a snowy risk over parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but complicated by some rain edging in here at the same time. Wherever we've had snow or rain falling, it could be icy as temperatures tumble down to -3, -4. That's towns and cities. Rural spots could, where there's snow lying on the ground, get to minus double figures. Now, it won't be as cold tonight across Scotland as last night because we've got more clouds spilling in. That's producing that mixture of rain, sleet and some snow, which could still be heavy, particularly over northern Scotland. Could be a slippery start for Northern Ireland, and for southern Scotland, northern England, you may also wake up to a covering of snow. The snow showers easing across these eastern areas, so a bright start here, but it could be icy because of the showers we've had today. Same goes for Wales and southwest England. Mostly a fine dry start here, and in fact much of the south will be dry and fine for most of Tuesday, but still on the cold side. It's across Scotland where we've got the greatest risk of further problems from the snow. Could be quite heavy across parts of the north. Further south, patchy rain mostly for Northern Ireland and Northern England with some hill snow mixed in. Still cold, but temperatures are just ticking up a little bit as we go through tomorrow. Wednesday sees a weather system clearing through, leaving behind still a northerly wind, still some wintry showers for Scotland and northeast England. A few rain showers possible elsewhere, but again, many areas dry, bright with some sunshine, but still cold. Temperatures ticking up a little, but there will be a particularly strong wind picking up in areas during the course of Wednesday. Check out all of those Met Office weather warnings for yourself on the Met Office website.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Let's get you that first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and we start this round with the Daily Telegraph, who, of course, go with "I'm a prisoner of war." This is the latest from the Maduro Venezuela saga. We've also got a story here about Rachel Reeves blocking cash for struggling pubs. She's blocking new financial support for pubs, despite Keir Starmer admitting that many will struggle with new business rate changes. The next paper that we are going to show you right now is The Guardian. Maduro says he's a prisoner of war and denies all the charges in the US court. The Eye. A big story, this. They say over 70s face a driving ban for failing new eye tests. Now, The Sun. When your trophies are nil and you've cost 30 mil, that's Amorim. Yes, it's Ruben Amorim, who was steamed out of his Cheshire mansion with his wife, all smiles, after a massive payoff for, just relentless failure at Manchester United, essentially. Anyway, whatever. I appreciate most of you listening and watching this now are not Manchester United fans, and we are not a sports show, so I'll leave it there. But get stuck into this with my panel now. First things first, the line from a lot of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and I'll come to you first on this, Jake, about Venezuela is who will Trump have a bang on next? Is it going to be Greenland? Is it going to be Colombia? He said that guy needs to, quote, watch his ass. And we talk, so is he going to carry on? Is this going to be Iran? Are we going to see, some tidal wave of Trump here?
Well, he's already acted against Iran, hasn't he? And of course, we've seen the uprising in Iran, and he said he may intervene. What people may have also missed is that the RAF were in action over the last weekend, bombing arms dumps in Syria. So it isn't just America acting. Britain has been active in this field of seeking to regime change, not in Syria because the regime has changed, but seeking to sort of project global power. I think it's the way of the new world.
OK, all right. What do you think? Do you think that we are... Starmer's latest line is, we stand with Denmark and Greenland.
I think a US invasion of Greenland is highly unlikely, because it's Danish territory and it's part of NATO, along with the US, so it's unlikely to be attacked. But I think the threat that exists of it being attacked is probably enough for Russia to frighten Russia and China to not be doing invading places that they might, but that doesn't stop Greenland's PM being very angry. He said today in the papers, enough now. He said if anything is going to happen with this country, it's going to be done through the proper channels and through international law, that we've just destroyed. And he said Greenland is not for sale. But the bottom line is Trump said it's important to America. It's important for security interests. But I don't think he's going to
What do you think? Is there a serious risk of Trump doing more than just Venezuela?
Well, I was going to say, if they attack Iran, I don't want to be caught in the middle of it like I was last time. No. And I have to do this programme from a bomb shelter. So
fantastic TV, though.
Yeah.
So thank you.
But if it does happen, I'd rather be somewhere safe and long away from the Middle East. On the question of Greenland, I think he's actually really messed up on this. A lot of bravado has gone into saying we'll take Greenland, as he said we'll take Canada, when actually, Denmark is a reasonable country, a wealthy country, a NATO member, has very good relations with the US historically. And so I suspect that many of the requests for strategic benefit for the US and, for that matter, NATO, that they could have got from Greenland, they would have obliged. But now you've got a situation where the average Greenlander or Danish person is going to be very angry about doing the deal. Of
course, the two things about that is the difference between Venezuela and Greenland is a democratic country. And I think that's the dividing line. We should be siding with people who share our values. Of course, let's not forget, though, there are many people in Greenland who opposed the 1950 annexation of Greenland by Denmark. Up to that point, Greenland had been an overseas territory, like, I don't know, Hong Kong was one of our overseas territories. And in the 1950s, against the will of many people in Greenland, Denmark annexed it formally, a bit like Putin's tried to do with Ukraine. So I wouldn't take any lectures from the Danish government on international law.
But Denmark already has a defence agreement with the US anyway, doesn't it, which gives it access to Greenland, so he has no need to invade.
And if Putin is so concerned about Russia, which is why he said he needs to annex Greenland, why doesn't he get on and give a bit more support to the Ukraine? Because that's the best way we can tackle Russia, is by supporting the Ukraine and President Zelensky.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's obviously a huge power play happening here, and whichever way you dress it up, I would imagine that the Chinese and the Russians and a lot of countries that are sympathetic to them now are looking at this and thinking, well, we may have been preparing for some kind of conventional war. If the United States are able to just circumvent all of our air defences and nab our leaders in the dead of night next to their wife and kind of metaphorically decapitate us as a country, which I think was the message there, wasn't it? Well, then I imagine that is...
What will President Trump say if China does this to the leader of Taiwan?
Yeah, of course. No, of course. Yeah, it's going to be. That's it. That's going to be the fascinating thing. But look, we sense that there's a build-up of US troops and hardware in Britain at the moment. There is a sense that something might be going on there. Just watch this space. It's interesting times.
Well, you think Keir Starmer's going to be deposed by President Trump? Is that why they're building up troops? This is a policy I can support.
In number 10 with is that the sound of a Delta Force helicopter I can hear above Downing Street now? Coming up though, leading the Times tonight, over 70s are going to lose their driving licences if they fail eye tests. Is this fair enough, or actually is it a bad thing? That's next.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
It appears seem to need more time to do that.
They definitely do. I mean, I think this country is becoming so ageist, it's not true. We're all being taxed, and when you think of the years and years we've all paid taxes, and, now they're having another go at us. They're taxing our pensions and everything that we might have saved for that rainy day. Certainly, when crossing a road, it is, if you are, I've got a bad knee, you've got a bad knee over there. We have problems. You have a few problems, Eamon.
About everything.
Yeah, but when you get across the road, you're frightened. I'm frightened of falling, because I think that's one of the major things of old people. They're terrified. I've had two friends in the last fortnight fall very badly and they're in hospital, and then you suddenly get this beep 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 on a crossing, and you panic a bit, and the cars are coming, and bicycles are suddenly there. It's all.
Are people generally not very patient then? Because if there's an old lady or an old man crossing the road in front of me, I'd always stop.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And if you're in a wheelchair, they probably run you over more. I mean, it's a terrible situation.
I mean, it's not so much pedestrian crossings, right? It's the ones where it's lights. When Christopher quite right says about the beep 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 is so you have, and suddenly it says 10 seconds, 9 seconds.
The countdown's stressful.
Yeah,
and can imagine it would be stressful for elderly people.
trying to I have to trying to drag my leg across the road.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
All right, welcome back. Let's give you the final tranche of newspaper front pages for tomorrow. The Daily Mail go with Greenland raid will finish NATO, Trump is warned. The Times, defiant Maduro tells court, I am a prisoner of war. And The Express, new warning over hidden danger of salt in diet. On Today, of all days. I like The Express. I love it. Used to work at The Express. Slightly bizarre headlines to go for...
I still do.
Whenever, yes, OK, so we'll leave that there, but bizarre front page on when everything else going on. The Mirror, madman. There you go, that's obviously tyrant captured by lunatic, they say, so there you go. Let's just deal with what's on the front of both the Times and the Eye, actually. I'm not coming to you for any particular reason here, Carol. No particular reason at all.
Maybe because this would apply to me. This is over 70s face a driving ban if they fail new eyesight tests. Do you know what? I'm sort of in favour of it, not because I am that age, because I may well fail it. But I think it's important that you can see. I go for eye tests every year anyway, and so I would find out if my sight was failing or whatever. But I think this is now, currently you have to self-declare if you have a problem with your sight.
Yeah.
What this is going to mean is that every 3 years you get tested and the optician can report you to DVLA if you're a liability. However, you can't take these tests with your glasses on. You're not being asked to do it without. And so the only...
Can I see how strong your glasses are?
Mine are, yeah, they're not that strong. Mine are, what do you call it, 2 or something?
Oof.
Yeah. What do you mean woof? They're not woof at all. Why don't you ask to see through his?
I have much worse sight.
His are like milk bottle bottoms.
Yeah, I mean, that's not...
But isn't the danger with this, and Carol's absolutely right that no one should drive with poor eyesight, is the sort of the slight sting hidden away within these new guidances. They're also planning to bring in cognition tests. Now, they're going to consult on this, and this is about people who may be early onset dementia, things like Parkinson's, and... You know, older people will be nervous that this is part of a sustained campaign by the government to seek to find ways to take the licence. And the real reason they're doing this, just so we're all aware, is, of course, this is actually brings us into line with the European Union because we're an outlier at the moment. We don't have these tests. The European Union does and insists on it. Yeah. And it's bringing us closer to Europe. And I personally think it's part of Starmer's Euro reset.
Obviously, look, it goes without saying, I think that anyone who's, like, you know, seriously blind or, unfortunately, has dementia and things like that, you know, probably should not be behind the wheel of a car, right? However, I am very, very, very concerned about the isolation of the elderly, about loneliness, about cutting off a lifeline, especially in rural areas for people, and, you know...
But can we also point out that the highest risk drivers on the road aren't the elderly, it's young men aged 17 to 24. Yeah. They account for most of the fatalities on the road and most of the accidents.
But, I mean, I looked it up, and 24% of fatalities are by drivers over the age of 70, which is obviously disproportionate.
And tell us the percentage of fatalities.
I don't doubt the statistic you're giving, but the 17-year-olds, it's because of inexperience and maybe because of lack of judgment. It's not an excuse.
It's not inexperience, it's driving at high speed.
It's not an excuse, but it's a different question.
High speed.
It's a different question. And also, let's be clear, when you're saying someone who's cognitively declined or got poor eyesight, who's 75, you're doing them a because by taking them off the road. Because you're putting them at risk.
Sometimes,
because they injure and kill themselves.
I've got to go in a sec, but sometimes it makes the decision easier for families, because sometimes sons and daughters of elderly people really struggle with the idea of how am I going to tell my dad that he can't drive anymore, whereas if it's taken out of their hands and given to a medical professional...
But it is part of the sort of creeping state control into our lives.
It is. Right, OK, there is a heck of a lot to go out on all of these front pages, which is just as well, because we've got a whole front pages show to give you for the next hour. You're not going to want to miss it. Going to be World War III.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It will turn milder slowly through the latter half of this week, but the cold spell continues for now. Hard frost, a continued ice risk, and yes, further snow in places. That said, the snow showers in eastern England from today are fading overnight, but it could still be very icy here. Still a few flurries coming into parts of Wales, southwest England, and we will continue with a snowy risk over parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but complicated by some rain edging in here at the same time. Wherever we've had snow or rain falling, it could be icy as temperatures tumble down to -3, -4. That's towns and cities. Rural spots could, where there's snow lying on the ground, get to minus double figures. Now, it won't be as cold tonight across Scotland as last night because we've got more clouds spilling in. That's producing that mixture of rain, sleet and some snow, which could still be heavy, particularly over northern Scotland. Could be a slippery start for Northern Ireland, and for southern Scotland, northern England, you may also wake up to a covering of snow. The snow showers easing across these eastern areas, so a bright start here, but it could be icy because of the showers we've had today. Same goes for Wales and southwest England. Mostly a fine dry start here, and in fact much of the south will be dry and fine for most of Tuesday, but still on the cold side. It's across Scotland where we've got the greatest risk of further problems from the snow. Could be quite heavy across parts of the north. Further south, patchy rain mostly for Northern Ireland and Northern England with some hill snow mixed in. Still cold, but temperatures are just ticking up a little bit as we go through tomorrow. Wednesday sees a weather system clearing through, leaving behind still a northerly wind, still some wintry showers for Scotland and northeast England. A few rain showers possible elsewhere, but again, many areas dry, bright with some sunshine, but still cold. Temperatures ticking up a little, but there will be a particularly strong wind picking up in areas during the course of Wednesday. Check out all of those Met Office weather warnings for yourself on the Met Office website.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, lots of hysteria on the front page about whether or not President Trump is about to invade Greenland, if he's going to have a go at Mexico, if he's decided that he's going to have a go on Colombia as well. So lots of concern about that, whether or not it's true or not, we will discuss. Also, as well, if you're over 70, you're going to have to take an eye test, and if you fail it, you're going to have your driving licence taken off you. Rachel Reeves has denied cash to pubs, despite being told that we're going to lose loads of them. What on earth is going on? Is it evil?
It's a brand new year and we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date.
£85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours.
And we've come to the Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate.
An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m.